I've only been involved in theatre in a school capacity, and then I joined Dionysus last year in production management after having a strong interest in the behind the scenes of making theatre.
I have been performing since I was about this big on stage. I've done a lot of theatre in school and in university as well, and I've even done some teaching at a drama academy, so it's always been something that I've loved doing, loved being a part of on both sides, sort of like creating and participating on and off the stage. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be able to be a part of this production and have a really big hand in making something that's quite big in scale. The removal of the stage in the physical sense. So I think obviously one of the biggest things this year is not being able to perform in a physical stage and in a physical space. So there's a lot of different barriers that come with that in terms of the pieces themselves and how do you perform in a virtual stage and how do you hold an event in a virtual stage. So I think that's probably the biggest barrier this year.
There's different challenges, more about like the rehearsal schedules, and you know, when you're in a normal rehearsal time, you've got everyone in the one space and you can go, I need to talk to this person, you just walk over to them and talk to them. But for this, it's like you have to set up a meeting with everyone and have the right participants and everything. I think it's actually really exciting. I think it is a really cool way to present it because it's something that people can relate to, especially stand and deliver. It's a format that everyone can relate to, like the struggles, and I think the themes that are presented in both these plays are very relatable.
I think for me, with producing a piece of theatre or any piece of theatre via Zoom, is for me the main thing to overcome is this concept of engagement with physical theatre piece in a stage, in an auditorium, in a seated environment. It's a very different kind of process of engagement, and that's something that it's really hard to conceive of. How do I engage my audience? How do I ask them to join in the show, stay in the show, and be engaged in the show to the same capacity as they would in a physical theatre? And I think that's probably one of the biggest things or ideas that I really want to get in touch with in producing a Zoom piece of theatre.
I think people have maybe not realised but have developed a stronger dependence on the arts in this time. And it's been a big message, at least in the arts community, to get that out there, to say this is our work that you are consuming. I think before it kind of goes unnoticed when you're consuming a lot of art media, that's what it is, that's where it comes from, to get that message out that artists are important and they're a big part of everybody's life. I think that's become more prominent during the pandemic.
I totally agree. I think one of the things, and like there's been a few news stories that have come about, especially like the one with the St Kilda dancers being asked to volunteer their services, and I think that really strikes, I think, close to my heart as a dancer who's been dancing since I was yay big, to think that my efforts or the training and the hours and the days and the years that you put into perfecting your craft is not treated with the same respect as another industry. And I think that's something that's been really thoroughly brought to light in the pandemic, and the way that the government especially treats the arts. And yeah, it's been very interesting to see how that has unfolded. Observing people having a sook, I think, and just laughing at how, I guess, not spoiled, but sheltered they are. There's a lot of like the Facebook comments that you see pop up on like Dan Andrews' posts of like, oh, Dictator Dan was so sick of being locked down. But I don't know, there's never been a point in this pandemic where I felt trapped, but I didn't feel that it was unjustified, and I didn't feel like I was being held against my will. And it's just, to me and to the people around me, it was funny watching people have a sook about something that they just shouldn't be having a sook about. I think in the grand scheme of things, this is not such a wild injustice on our lives that it deserves such a backlash. I think people forget that we're a first world country. We can just go to the shops and buy food and, walk out the street and not get, shot and killed. Like it's such an insane thing for me to see people reacting the way that they have been reacting. But to me, it's funny, like a dark kind of irony.
I was going to touch on something similar, that it brings all your old concerns and worries into perspective, and it makes you laugh at the things that you once thought were so important and now you realize they're not important at all. And also, everyone in the world can relate to this. So you have to bring humor out of it, because it's not something that we can pin on someone. It's not anyone's fault. It's just what's happened. We just have to, as like a society, just come together to laugh about the more lighthearted things. Not, there's obviously a lot of terrible things that have happened, but come together and just laugh about the craziness that we're living in.
And I feel like Gen Z, or like my age group, has like a really good tendency to use humor as a coping mechanism, and like a very collective coping mechanism. Like the memes that have come out of this pandemic are just like incredible, and it's a testament to like our resilience and just our, I don't know, resilience, I guess. But because I'm in it in a capacity. I think I've done a good job, and I'm going to keep telling myself that until we see this eventuate. I think as one of the first real pieces of theatre, big productions that I've had a really solid hand in, I just want to put out my confidence into the world, and I'm hoping that that will manifest. So yes, help it manifest, please.
This is the as far as I'm concerned, this is the first of its kind, this kind of theatre, and it could be a thing for a while. It could be a thing from now on, that we have regular theatre and we have virtual theatre, and it opens it up to such a huge audience, and it's something different, something that no one will have experienced before, and it could very well be something that people have to get used to.